Alright, hello. This video is my first look at the new system that came with Planes of Eidolon, and that is the modular weapons that are the Zaws, which I have right here. This is a dagger. Looks pretty damn awesome, I think. But the only Zaws that I've built so far are daggers, and there's a few reasons for that. The first is that when you're looking at all these strikes here, the only one that can actually be applied to a dagger is the Bala. And for myself, when I was learning the system, I figured it would be a lot easier if I didn't need to compare the strikes against one another. And I've always wanted a dagger that could hold its own as a proper melee weapon and not just being utilized for the covert lethality mod. So you can see compatible dagger and staff, the scythe strike, machete and polearm, rapier and polearm, machete polearm, sword polearm, and sword and staff. So I will be looking at all those strikes probably in the very near future, but just to learn the system I wanted to start with the most simple one and the one that I was probably the most interested in, because I've got a few daggers but they are really only used for covert lethality. So that's the reason I've done that. I've been using the Zaw compendium here that was created by a user on Reddit that crowdsourced a lot of this information. I couldn't actually find the link to that Reddit thread, but I will post this link in the description below if you want to look at this. You can see that it's comparing the heads of these strikes to the grips, 3 different grips there, and to all of these, which I forgot what they're called, the links. It gives you all the data on that, and you can compare the machetes and rapiers and whatnot. And you can see in here that the rapiers compare the machetes compare the scythe strike and the crunch strike. So that's just double the amount of data that I would need to work through to find the optimal. And as I said, I figured it would just be easier to learn with the one strike to begin with. It's also worth noting that there was a update where they did a few more Zaw changes, and while some of these Zaws were made before this update came out, these values are retroactive, so the weapons that were made before do have these buffs, and all the testing that I did was after this update, so there's nothing irregular going on. Also, all the testing I did was done on Eximus units, so corrupted heavy gunners. Yeah, Eximus corrupted heavy gunners they were. And they were all of the Leech variety, and that is because they have 300% of their base health compared to their non-Eximi variant, which is basically the strongest unit that I can spawn, or the hardiest unit I can spawn that doesn't have weird armor values or targeting locations like the Nox or the Juggernaut. That's why I did everything with that. I've kept all my data just in a Word document here, and I'll briefly explain what all this means before I actually go in and test it, and when I am testing it or demonstrating it, I'll be referring back to this page. So firstly, all the names have been abbreviated because the game won't let you have a name that's 30 digits long, so the Bala strike is just the Bal, everything's been dropped down to 3 digits where possible. And even with all the longer names down here, they're all convertible back very easily. I'll probably copy this whole thing into the description as well, so if you need to look at that in something not as quick and erratic as this video, you'll be able to do so. So I've created 6, as I said. They're labelled through alphabetically, A, B, C, D, E, F. That's just so I can keep track of it a bit easier. This is the attack speed, so 1.25s, that's just the attack speed of the weapon. The DPS is not listed on the compendium here, but it's basically just the IPS multiplied by the speed, and I've just done that across all of them to keep those values a bit more consistent and easily viewable. And then we've got the 18% critical chance and 18% status chance, which is the first one I built because I thought it would be ideal having the fastest attack speed and the highest amount of both critical and status, because you want those, you want heaps of viral procs and slash procs, but you also want the critical triggering often to keep Berserker up and to make those slash procs do more damage. So I figured that would be the way to go. I learnt later that that is not the case, but we'll get to that as we go down. That stands for my regular combo counter, so I'm actually holding the weapon and standing directly in front of the enemy and spamming the regular attack. And I went up and did that 10 times to the corrupted Eximus, just as a control test so that I could compare everything a bit easier. This is the quick attack combo counter. I did the exact same thing, and you can see comparing all these different numbers here that the quick attack is always slightly less effective to the regular attack. And the regular is also not using any combos, because there are two notable combos that I will probably show you right now before I get into actually comparing everything. So I'll just do it with the A weapon, which is the first one I built. The build on all of them are exactly the same, in that they are status based for viral. There's Blood Rush and Berserker. Condition Overload, Covert Lethality is on there, because it's really good, and it'd be a fool not to use it. Although if you didn't want to use it, probably Reach or maybe Organ Shatter would be a good replacement, and obviously Prime Fury and Pressure Point. And the combos that I'll show you are from Stinging Thorn, which is objectively the best dagger stance that there is. My Nova has Enemy Radar, so I'm not getting any covert corrosive projection buffs. I have no companion applying extra statuses or anything. So I'll just show the two notable combos first. Buff that up to the maximum level, invincibility, so I don't have to jump around at all. Get that guy off and spawn a new one. There's two notable ones. With all my testing, I was just standing directly in front and attacking, no movement, because if you are moving towards an enemy when you're attacking, it forces a finisher, which is clearly very dangerous to have on a dagger that can equip Covert Lethality. And with all my testing and in this video, I'll avoid doing that walking combo, just because it really sort of skews the results, which is not ideal. And the other one is the blocking combo. So before you attack, you just block. And it's very useful for knockdowns. You can just constantly keep an enemy knocked down by doing that. So if you ever need crowd control, you can just swap over into that and knock down the dangerous enemies. So I find myself using both of those in game quite frequently. When I am using melee, I find myself moving towards enemies and attacking. I'm never just standing still. But I do find myself using the blocking ones when they are worth it. Now that's out of the way, I'll probably just spawn two of these guys and two bombards. And I'll do my regular attack, and then I'll do the quick attack as well, just to show the difference between all of them. Being careful not to attack whilst I'm still walking towards them. That was a 101 combo down the bottom there. Probably just mention that each time as well so that you can get an idea. Swap over to the Lex and we'll do the same thing with our quick attack. And no matter if you're walking forward or not, you won't trigger any knockdowns or finishes when you're doing quick attack. It's just about the DPS. That took 106. It was actually a bit quicker than the last one. Obviously the numbers vary a little bit, but overall it seems they're quite consistent. There will be the outliers like that run just there. And you can see in here that each has 3 former, except these top ones that have 4. They all actually have the exact same build, which is just the 4 V polarities across the top. But the reason these have 4 former and the others have 3 is that there was a bug on Cetus where when you guild the weapon, you are supposed to get a polarity installed and it's supposed to get reset to rank 0. But it wasn't doing that for me, so I guilded it and immediately polarized it again so I could go back into the planes and continue leveling in the bounties and whatnot. But if you get that bug, you just return to your Lisette and it'll happen there and you'll save yourself a former. So basically I just wasted 2 former doing that. Not really a big deal, but worth noting. So I'll bring across my Word document so you can see what this is comparatively. And the last one was 1818, and this one is still the fastest attack speed, but it's got 10% crit chance and 32% status chance. And the idea behind that was to get more slash procs. And the 10% is still good enough to get Berserker and Blood Rush ticking up really quick because the attack speed is so fast. There's the difference there. On those guys again, and we'll do the same 2 tests. There's 93 down the bottom right, which is definitely quicker than the one before. Not a whole lot, but definitely quicker. Jump in and do it with the quick attack. That's 98 as well. Not bad. There also you're getting different results when you attack the bombards before the gunners, just because you can build up the combo before you actually get to them, which take more hits usually. But there's not too much I can really do about that. Just how it goes. I'll show the build on that. I think I already did. I'll show it again. It's exactly the same as the one before. Go on to the C, and you can see by the names that you can recreate these if you want. C, same build. And this one is the highest DPS at the highest status chance. So the idea is to have the bleed procs doing maximum damage. Get out there and do that again. I didn't really like the way the handle looked on this to begin with, compared to the ones before. I think it's grown on me quite a bit. Didn't even check that one in time. Oh, too bad. We've already done the testing, the numbers are all there. Go over to D, show the build, it's exactly the same. And D is the fastest attack speed with the highest amount of critical and 10% status chance. Yep. I'll show that one off real quick. I've noticed that there's not a huge difference between all of these. Oh, this is the handle I was talking about as well. That's pretty cool. There's not a huge difference in effective kill time between all these different daggers. I didn't block there, so I'm not sure why that guy got knocked over. 113. You can see those orange crits popping up real quick. 105. Grab the next one before we do anything else. Is E. And E is the highest DPS for crit chance to get those slash procs doing more. Obviously that will be happening less as a downside to that. You can see comparing these numbers, they're pretty good. Probably show my favorite in ideal circumstances at the end, with like Molecular Prime and maybe a Sentinel and Aggressive Projection, just so you can see how well it will perform in a semi-realistic scenario. I play Nova a lot, so for me that is a very realistic scenario. 89 swings to kill 4. I want to do a test with like the Nakana Prime or the Atarax or something at the end, so you can compare a little bit. It is a little bit hard to compare those weapons. Tried to do a butt scoop, but I wasn't moving quick enough. $99. I'm not really putting much stock in those numbers from just doing a single run. There's a reason I did 10, which is to average them all out. So seeing them vary in here doesn't surprise me much, and it's not really reliable to rely on just those to do so. Compare them, same build. This is the last one that I've built, and it's the last dagger I'm going to build. See it there? And it is the 1818 again, but it's the highest DPS instead of the fastest attack speed. Because even though it's not the fastest attack speed, at only 0.85, with primed Fury and Berserker, you're still attacking crazy fast. And you can see that the one before was very good, and this one is slightly better. So this is my go-to dagger of choice. It's got that second handle I was talking about, which has grown on me. As soon as that Berserker kicks in, you can really see that speed ramp up. That was 72 down the bottom there. I always forget to look at that. I'll do it again as a quick attack. $87. So overall, very impressed. When I first saw these daggers, or when I first saw the Zaw system, I thought it would be absolute garbage. These daggers have really shone for me. I'm very, very impressed by them. Hopefully the effectiveness carries over to all the other types. I'm not expecting the machete to be too amazing, but I have seen people saying that it is the best machete you can craft. So maybe it will blow me out of the water as well, just like these daggers did. So this is my favorite one. This is the one that I'll be using when I actually want to use a dagger. Let's drag that across again. You can see that that is performing better than everything else. And this is the name of it. I'm probably just going to test that again, or demonstrate how that works with corrosive, and maybe we'll do it in stages. So I'll just chuck corrosive on there. And I'll prime them as well. We'll see how much damage that does. Yeah, 56. Really good. We'll just drop the Sentinel in. The Helios with the Prisma Burst Laser, which is built for blast and electricity, I believe. Yep, blast and electricity. Also, don't remember if I showed this build, but as always, same as everything else. Just showing that so you guys have an idea. You just don't question that I'm putting shitty builds on my non-favorite one. You can see them getting extra procs from this guy. Just buff my damage even further. When he decides to fire. Electricity and blast. Blast counts for 2 in terms of buffing condition overload. So that guy took 9 swings to take down after all of those buffs, which is insane if you ask me. I'm just going to drop that off. That back to radar, and then I'll do that test again with the Nakana Prime. Probably in the same build. Reach. I'm going to drop Reach and put Organ Shatter in there, which the daggers didn't have, but it is comparable to Covert Lethality, in my opinion at least. Using the Tranquil Cleave stance, which is my preferred. I'm not trying to do any combos, I'm just standing in front of him and swinging like I have been with all the others. So 127, still doing it in a very minimal amount of cuts, but it takes a lot longer because that attack speed is so much slower. Let's take the Atarax in. Can't really compare all of these weapons, but it will just give you an idea of how they're performing. Bit of a baseline. Obviously, slide attack spam. It's the only way you use this weapon. It's only 64. Obviously those slash procs ticking on guys miles away, you got such a huge range, you're hitting them all at once. As I said, the weapons, it's a stupid comparison. That gives you an idea of how it's all going. So yeah, that's that. In terms of actually attacking and using it as a weapon, that is the best combination. If you're just going to be using it for covert lethality, it is still worth making one because the attack speed is so much higher than all the other daggers. But you'll just go for the fastest attack speed, which is 1.25. Just check the compendium, 1.25, high as it gets. I might also just show you how easy it is to trigger those finishes, how reliable they are. Bring in 8 of those guys. Wrong weapon. Might as well use my favorite. So I'm just walking towards them and spamming regular attack. No timing or skill involved. And it's very effective, very, very reliable. So yes, that is my first look at the Zaws. I don't know if I mentioned it already or not, but my goal is to have the best of each strike in my arsenal. And this is what I consider to be the best Bala. And because it's dagger, and because it can fit on the dagger, that's the only one I use to go for it, obviously. So because I've used the Bala now as a dagger, I can't use it as the staff, so I'll have to find the next best staff. Like I won't even be building staffs with this strike on top of it. It's just how I'm going to work my way through it all, because you need to complete each strike for the different mastery anyway. So you might as well make the most of the system, even though some of these things are shockingly ugly, and I don't know if skins can be applied to them, and I don't think there's a skin for the rapiers yet. Hopefully they can be. That's probably going to be on a machete as well, so they're going to be both very ugly. But anyway, I'm rambling. So that is my testing. All these results will be in the description. If you want a better look at the stance, there's a guy called MCGamer who did a very in-depth look at that stance, the Stinging Thorn. I'll put a link to his video in the description. He's bigger than I am, so you've probably seen that already. But yeah. Thanks for watching, I hope this helped, and I'm definitely enjoying the system, definitely enjoying doing a bit more testing, and seeing where it will take me. Here's the names again, and I'll see you later.